Okay, so we'll get started there now. As I said, welcome everybody to the first webinar for 2014. Again, apologies to anybody who received the invitation or did not receive the invitation for December's webinar. We had an issue with our mailing client that we used to send out the bulk email. We had people that have joined regularly would remember that we had a similar issue in October with it. We had to reschedule the webinar a week later, but unfortunately with the holiday period we couldn't do that in December. So welcome to this month's webinar. My own name, for anybody who hasn't joined previously, is Niall Fahy. I'm based here in EMEA in Ireland, in the south of Ireland in Cork. It's our EMEA HQ for Mozy. So all of our operations for EMEA, UK, France and Germany are based out of here in Cork in Ireland. So I do all the technical training here for Mozy, both internal and external. So I do all the internal training with our support agents here in EMEA, and I also do some trainings for our external partners and some of their customers. I'm with Mozy about 4 years now. 2 years doing technical support and 2 years doing the technical training. Okay, so today's topic is the new Mozy Sync client. For anybody who has been on the beta, I suppose it's not new to them. They've probably been using it and they've seen it in action previously. For everybody else, it will be new. So we'll just go through here on the basis that people don't know what it is. Okay. And we'll do a quick slide presentation. We will then go into a walkthrough, so I'll just go through and show off the Mozy Sync client and the features within the administration console in terms of how to create accounts and so on. And then we'll do a Q&A at the end for any questions people may have on the Sync software. Okay, so a brief overview. What is Mozy Sync? Okay, so basically it's a synchronization tool. It allows you to create a folder on your local drive that's synchronized with our servers, but also synchronized to any other machine you have the Mozy Sync software installed on. Okay, so it's a one folder. You then put within this folder, this Mozy Sync folder, you put in your own files and folders that you wish to be synchronized to other machines, and it synchronizes them. So it pushes them up to our servers online, and it shares them as well out to the other machines that you have the software installed in. So I suppose it's similar to what we have, many people would have probably done previously in terms of, I suppose, going back, I suppose it was people carrying around floppy disks, then it went to USB keys, and I suppose, speaking from my own experience, I suppose you went along things like, when you were trying to share things between your various computers that you might have had between work maybe and home, it was things like, emailing yourself copies of documents and stuff like that. So the synchronization software, the idea behind it is just to remove that need, or that reliability on having to actually remember the USB key with the presentation on it when you're moving from your home computer to going into work. You instead can pop it into this folder on your home computer and have it synchronized to your work computer, all in one go. So how is Mozy Sync different from the Mozy actual backup client? Okay, so I suppose a lot of people do ask that question. I mean, what's the difference between me using my Sync software and my Mozy backup? Don't they do the same thing? Yes and no. Yes, obviously they both keep your files safe in terms of there's a copy of them on our servers. But the Mozy client is intended for disaster recovery purposes. So it's meant that if you have a disaster and you need to return all your files and folders, you can do that. Whereas the Mozy Sync one is meant for storage and synchronization across a couple of machines, so that, as I mentioned, that you can work on something on, say, your desktop at home and have that synced to your work laptop also, so that you're not having to worry about forgetting an important document at home. or even forgetting an important document in the office on your desktop machine and not having it on your laptop. Say if you were a salesperson, for example, who would probably have a desktop machine in the office and might have a laptop on the road. Okay, so that's what the primary use for sync is. It's intended for storage and synchronization. And it's just a more simplified backup experience because you're just dragging and dropping into the folder itself, the files and folders that you want synchronized to all other machines. As I mentioned, it's single location on your local hard drive that's synced between other machines that you have your Mozy Sync installed on. Okay, so this can be similar operating systems, but you can also install this on. You can install one version of Mozy Sync on your Windows machine, and you can also install it if your boss loves you enough and you have a Mac maybe as your desktop inside and work. You can also install the Mac version of the software on your Mac machine, and it'll still synchronize between the Windows machine and the Mac machine without issue. Okay, because the middleman is our servers, and that's where it's pushed to first, and then it's pushed down onto your Mac machine so that we have the data shared. How do you get Mozy Sync? Okay, so for the most part, anybody who was on the beta will have it will obviously be using it already previously. For those not on who were not signed up to the beta program, those accounts that have been set up in the last few months. All those accounts that have been set up in the last few months should have this enabled automatically when their account is created for them, when their Mozy Pro account is enabled for them. If you don't have it, and if you don't have Mozy Sync enabled on your account, you can as well contact Mozy support, and they will activate it for you. They will enable it for you so that you can start using it going forward. If there's anybody on the webinar today that doesn't have it enabled, maybe just pop me an email and I'll just check your accounts later on this evening. And I can just check if your account is enabled, and if it's not, I will enable it for you. It's very straightforward. It's just a click of a button, and the account will be enabled for it. Once the account is enabled, you then need to make sure that the individual users that are within your account can use it. So for those who have use user groups, at the first point you need to make sure that the sync software is enabled at the group level, okay, at the user group level, and then at the individual user level. Okay, so you can be choosy. If you don't necessarily have to give Mozy Sync to everybody within your organization, but you can pick and choose who you want to enable it with. And when we're going through the walkthrough in a minute, I will go through and show you how you will enable it at the user group level, for those who have user groups. And I will also show you how you enable it at the user level, okay, both on existing users and also on a new user as you add them, okay. For anybody who still purchases desktop and server storage by the gigabyte, so who is not on a bundled price plan, okay, so if you still purchase desktop storage and you purchase server storage by the gigabyte, please note that the storage that Mozy Sync uses is desktop storage. Okay. Downloading Mozy Sync. Okay, so it's straightforward enough. Again, it can be downloaded straight from our website, from the product downloads page. It can also be downloaded from the administration console. Okay, so again, when we're going through the walkthrough, I'll point out where it is available to you to download. Okay. And once downloaded, it's a straight install, similar enough to the client, and you just enter your email address and your password for your Mozy user account, okay, and you will link the machine to your Mozy Sync account, okay. You can install Mozy Sync on up to 5 different machines. So using the same account, you can install Mozy Sync on 5 different machines. So you can link 5 different machines within your office. So I suppose similar enough, it would be ideal if you were maybe working in if you work off-site. You can install it on your desktop and work, and your work laptop, and maybe your home machine as well. So you can do that up to 5 machines, okay? And it's not restricted to operating system. Obviously, you need to install the Windows version of the Mozy Sync client to the Windows operating system and the Mac version to a Mac operating system. But it doesn't mean that you can't use your Mozy Sync account across those different operating systems. You can, okay? So you can use your one Mozy Sync account on a Windows machine and a Mac machine, okay? You just need to install the different versions of the software, okay? It'll still link up your synchronization of your files, okay? Obviously, if you're using stuff that's specific to Windows and Mac, or say, for example, Microsoft Office, if you're going to be synchronizing Word documents and stuff like that, or PowerPoints, you obviously need to make sure that you have Word installed on your Mac machine as well to be able to open them, you know, when you actually have them synced, because they will be synced there, but you mightn't necessarily be able to open them if you don't have Microsoft Office installed on your Mac. Just those small things. They do seem like obvious things, but you'd be surprised people forget it at times. You know, we've all been guilty of it. I know I certainly have. So can I use Mozy Sync? So this is a common enough one we get asked. Can I use Mozy Sync and the Mozy client? And the answer is yes, you can. You can use both software options on the same machine. I'll show you in a minute that I have both installed on my machine. And there's no issue with that. The Mozy Sync folder itself, the reasoning behind this is that this Mozy Sync folder itself cannot be selected in the Mozy client for backup. Okay, so we exclude the Mozy Sync folder from backup. You can't see it through the Files and Folders tab or so on in the settings window, and it's the same on Mac. I'll show you here on my Windows machine in a minute that we can't see the folder, and it can't be then selected for backup. Reasoning being is because if we were to select that folder and back it up, we'd be backing it up. Say, for example, I have 2 gigs of information worth inside my Mozy Sync folder, and I select that for backup as well. That backs up to the servers via my Mozy client, but also it's synchronizing to the my Mozy account online as well through the sync folder. So I end up, instead of using 2 gigabytes of backup space, end up using 4. So to avoid that situation happening, we've actually excluded it totally from the settings window so that you can actually select the folder itself to backup. Okay, just to ensure that, you know, by accident it doesn't get selected or anything like that. It's just not even in there, so that you can actually select it. Okay. Are your Mozy Sync files available online? Yes, they are. Okay, so your Mozy Sync folder can be accessed online in the same way as the backup client. Okay, so you can, the same way as you can do a web restore for any of your backup clients that you've installed on your machines, you can do the same with Mozy Sync. Okay, because Mozy Sync works off of the basis that if you put a file or folder into the folder on the Mozy Sync folder on machine A, it gets pushed up to the Mozy Sync folder on our servers, and then that gets pushed down to machine B, where it updates that folder with the new file. Okay, and vice versa. If you put a file into B, it gets synced to the servers first and then pushed down to machine A. So the sync folder on our servers acts as almost like the middleman. Okay, just passing and relaying the file that you've added for synchronization. It doesn't mean that, you know, if I have, you know, it's not going to use up extra space because you have it, you know, you have the folder installed on multiple machines. It's only going to use up the space because for one folder to whatever's synchronized to our servers, because the files that you push up from machine A are going to be pushed down to machine B, so it's the exact same files. Okay, so it's the exact same space usage. It only uses the space once. You can even online as well. You can even upload to your Mozy Sync folder. Okay, so from there you can actually upload. If you were on, maybe you're out on a business call, or you're out of the office, you're working from somewhere else, and you don't have access to your sync folder, you can log in there and you can download from there, obviously. But you can also upload a file into your sync folder, so that you can do it from any machine that has access to the internet. You could upload a file there, and what happens then, it gets pushed out to your relevant your relevant machines that have your Mozy Sync accounts installed on them. Okay, so you have instant updates to your various machines. So if you found anything of interest when you were out of the office and that you thought you might use again, maybe a presentation you viewed or you've seen, or an important document you might pick up while out of the office, you can sync it there and it'll be pushed out to your individual machines that have Mozy Sync installed. Okay, so that's just the brief slide deck we have on it explaining what it is. I'm going to dive in now to actually showing you the Mozy Sync software, and then as well as that the admin console, okay, and where you go to add sync to your users and so forth. Okay, so first up, showing you the Mozy Sync folder. So this is what it looks like on the machine. Okay, so it's this little folder down here. Okay, with the little green check mark on it just means that at the moment it's fully synchronized. All files are up to date. Okay, so when I right click on it here, I get additional options. Okay, I can see, okay, it says all files are up to date. I'm using 6% of 95 gigabytes of the storage that I have available to me. I can pause any synchronization that's currently going on if I don't want the bandwidth to be used currently because maybe I'm on a wireless network or something like that. I can pause the synchronization. Okay, recent activity will show me the most recent files that have been uploaded. Okay, and my preferences will open up the settings for the client. Access files online will open up my web restore file, web restores of the files, and I can restore files here as well. Okay, so first up I'm going to just open the Mozy Sync folder. As you can see, okay, it's just a basic straightforward folder inside Windows. Okay, it's found inside in here, so it's inside my own home folder, and I can see here it is Mozy Sync. Okay, so this is the folder. As you can see, it's just folders and files that I have available, okay, that are synchronized to my other machines. Okay, we can see there that the file path there, okay, so that's within my own personal folder, and it's the Mozy Sync file. As I mentioned a while ago, from the Mozy Pro settings, if I come in here to files, okay, the file system, and I open down my own one, I don't see the Mozy Sync folder here. Okay, so it's not available there for me to select. So like, why it's not there is because what's the chance, someday you might come along by mistake, or even just want to back up everything under your own personal folder on the thing. If the Mozy Sync folder was there, it would be selected as well. So to avoid that, we just don't have it even in there, so that you can't back it up, so that you're not backing up your data twice. Okay, because as it stands, these files are being pushed to our servers as well, and they're available there for you to restore. Okay, so it's straightforward enough. If you want to put anything in there, okay, so for example, if we go down to my desktop, okay, we open up the folder, okay, and I pull, okay, let's pull this old webinar presentation in there. Okay, it gets added into my folder. I can now see the green arrow has changed to 2 blue arrows spinning, okay, and that it's syncing, okay, and now that has been uploaded to the servers. Okay, so it's now available. It's now available online in my online account, but it's also pushed now to, as well as that, my home machine as well. Okay, so my desktop at home, it has also been pushed to that folder. As long as the machine is powered on, it'll be up to date syncing. If it's powered off, when you power on again, it'll begin the sync process to sync up with what the other folders are up to date with. Okay. In terms of the preferences, okay, so if we open up, so we have our preferences here, okay, so this little bar here will just give you information on the number of files to be sent and their progress. Okay, so it's just a progress bar. It fills up as you go in terms of files sent or files to be received. Again, you can pause the synchronization from here. Okay, here we're listed as the storage used. Okay, so highlights here the sync storage that I'm using. So 2.8 gigs is this little green bar here, and then the backup is 3.2 gigs. Okay, so this is just showing how much I'm using over my various devices that I have on my user account. So for those on bundle price plans in the pool storage, and pretty much everybody on pool storage, they'll see, they'll see their overall usage under their user account for all their devices. So as they can see here, in total, I'm using 6 gigs out of a total of 95 gigs, okay? And it's just showing me the breakdown of that, okay? I have my account information here, the computer name and the Mozy account. I can view my account online by clicking this, okay? So I can click on that there and view my account. It'll pull up there as I'm working, okay? So in the settings then, okay, I have, so that's my user account online, that's after pulling up there, okay? In the settings window here, unlink computer just means that you don't want to synchronize it anymore with the servers, or you don't want to link it with other machines anymore. When you click unlink computer, all it means is that you will no longer, if you put in new files into the Mozy Sync folder, they will no longer be pushed to our servers or to your other machines that are using the Mozy Sync client and this account. Okay. It doesn't mean that the folder itself with the files that are in it are deleted. They'll stay on your machine on your local drive. Okay, so they're still there. It just means that it'll no longer synchronize with the other machines that you have using Mozy Sync or the actual servers online. Okay, so that's all that does. The sync folder location. Okay, so this is the default location. Okay, so C users. Okay, Fahi N4 / Mozy Sync. You can move that, okay, using this by clicking here, okay, and selecting where you want to move it to. You can also rename it if you wish, okay. If you do want to move the folder to a different location, maybe you want to move it to your desktop, or you might want to rename it, do it via the settings window here. Although you can come in here, okay, and you could go down and go to users, okay, and come down here, and you could right click and rename the folder, and you could drag it and drop it onto your desktop. What'll happen is when you next time go to open up the folder, it'll tell you it can't find the Mozy Sync folder because the Mozy Sync device will actually be pointed towards this folder location, and you'll just have to actually reassociate with that folder. Okay, so what'll happen is it'll say to you, okay, look, we can't find the folder. Do you want to create a new one in the default location, or do you want to try and find it? If you've moved it to your desktop by just dragging and dropping, you can obviously find it straight away, but then it will have to resync the files that are in the folder. Okay, so sometimes it might actually end up pushing up some of the files in full again. Okay, so just if you are wanting to move it or rename the folder location, do it via the settings window. Okay, again, you can limit the bandwidth, okay, similar enough to the client, okay, up and down, okay, if you wish. Proxy settings are accessible directly from here, and you have additional options here then, like start Mozy Sync at login, so that once you log into your machine, Mozy Sync will log in as well and start synchronizing. Okay, show event notifications, show the sync status badges on files and folders. You can do that as well. Require password to access files online. So at the moment, if I right click here, okay, and I go access files online, it'll log me directly in online. If I don't want that to happen, and maybe I'm using a machine that's shared amongst other people or other people have access to it, I can just tick that option to require the password. So what I'll do is when it goes to my online account, it'll prompt me for my password, obviously. Okay. Opening the sync folder again will just bring you back to the actual sync folder here. Okay. So just as this is brought up now, we'll just look at the web access window quickly before we go to the administration console. Okay, so here I have my devices. So this is my PC machine here. So that's my backup client there. And then I have my sync folder here. Okay. As you can see, again, it's the same folders and so on from the folder we looked at a minute ago. Okay, and here is the file we actually synced a while ago, so just a minute ago, as we can see there. That's the one we just uploaded. Okay. If I want to add in additional stuff, I can click on this little menu option here, the action pane. I can upload files directly to the stash folder, or the sync folder, sorry, and I can create a new folder within the sync. If I create a new folder, it gets pushed down to my other sync locations, and also if I upload a file here, it gets pushed down to my other sync locations. Okay, so as I say, if you have web access and you're not on your own machine, but you need to add something, you want to upload something, you can do it there, and it gets pushed out to your subsequent machines that are accessed or have access to your sync client. Okay. So again, it's straightforward enough. Again, if you want to download something, you can do that. Okay, you just click on it here, and you can download now. Okay, so if you download it, this will download it straight away, like opening an attachment in an email. Okay. In terms of adding it to your users, okay, so here first off I'll show you the user in terms of if you have user groups. Okay, so in this account that I have here, I have sync enabled on the account, so I can use it. But as you can see here on my user groups, it's only the default user group that I actually have sync enabled on. Okay, so as you can see from here, I've shown you my sync account on my desktop here. So this is obviously this user group. Okay, and if I open up those user groups, okay, I can see that sync is enabled here. I can change that if I want. If I have as I see here, it says enable sync for all users. I can enable sync on the user group, and say, for example, although I only have one user here, if I had multiple users, say I had another 5 or 6 users on here, okay, and I enable sync on the user group, but I didn't want all of those existing users to have sync, I would not click on this. But if I did want them all to have it, I could just do that, and it would do a mass selection for them all, and allow them all access to sync and download sync and use sync. Whereas if I only wanted 2 or 3 of those 5 or 6 people to use sync, I would have to open up their individual users and actually enable sync on there. Okay, so as you can see here on the user panel, it's enable sync there. Okay. Whereas on this user group here, okay, so I have this user created under here. I don't have an option to enable sync because at the user group level, I don't have sync enabled. Okay, if I want to, I can change that to yes. I submit it. Okay, and again, it's now enabled at the user group level. And if I refresh here, okay, I now have the ability to add sync to this user. I also up here have the ability to enable sync for all users, so that's existing users on there that don't have it at that present time. Okay, but if you want to do it at the individual level, it's opening up the user's account here within your administration console and enabling sync for them. Okay, so once you do that, they will get sync. They'll have sync available to them. They just download the client and install it. Okay. So once it's enabled like this, you will see it come up as a container here. So the sync container is here. And as you can see again, it tells you how much it's using and the available space that's on the account. Okay, because this is using shared storage, it's telling me what's available on my entire account. I can restore files. If you don't want, if you want to get rid of sync off a user's account, you just delete it. Okay. Again, if you delete it from here, all it means is that sync is no longer available for synchronization. So it deletes the container from here on the user's account and from our servers, but it doesn't delete it from the individual's machine. Okay. So the individual user's machine will actually still have the folder on the actual on their computer with their files and folders in it. It just deletes the container from our servers, and that's it. Okay. So for existing users, okay, if you don't have user groups, okay, so you just search, open up your administration account, okay, search the users, okay, click on a user, okay, and here enable sync, okay. So you have the option here to enable sync on the user, and you can change it, okay. So as do here, so this is probably a better example because sync is on this account. I can just change, I'm going to add sync, okay. I can tick the option to send the email. If I tick the option to send the email, what it does is it just sends the user the email and lets them know that that they have been enabled with sync, and it'll give them the download link to download the software, okay. So if I submit it without doing it, all it does is it enables it, and the user then, I can send on, if you wanted to individually send on the link to the customer, or if it's somebody within the office and you just say, look, go to the download page there and they can download it. Okay, so that's enabled now, and as you can see, it creates the sync container straight away. Okay, and it's now available for the user. All they need to do is log in with their email address and their password. Again, if you want to remove the sync from the user, it's just delete it. Okay, it tells you, do you want to disable sync and delete the user's synchronized files from the web? Again, as I say, it only deletes it from the web. The folders on the user's machine with the files and folders within it, the sync folder on the user's machine, stays put. It just no longer synchronizes with the cloud. Okay, so that's removed, and again, it goes back, it changes that enable sync to no, and I can again add it in at a later date again if I wish. Okay. If you wish to download it from the administration console, come over down here to the resources and download the Mozy Pro client. And into the tab here, so it'll open up initially with the backup clients. Click into the tab Mozy Sync and Mobile Clients, and you can download the version that you need for the particular OS you're using. Your Mozy Sync folder can also be accessed using the mobile apps. Okay, so on iOS and Android, you can view your sync folder in there, and you can upload as well photos and stuff like that to your sync folder if you wish. And the same way as with the backup client, you can request restores and stuff like that via the mobile app. Okay, so that is it for the walkthrough and just explaining sync. We'll leave it open now to Q&A. You'll see the chat box at within your window that you should have in front of you there now, logged into the session. And if you have any questions, just pop them in there. As they come, I will answer them. Okay, so thanks very much for joining. Okay, Rita asked the question, does the files added to the sync use up our space we have on our Mozy backup service? Yes, it shares the storage that you have available on your Mozy backup service. So if you have 50 gigs on your account and you're using 20 gigs for your backup client, so your PC backup client, and you have 5 gigs of folders within your Mozy Sync client. It'll pull that 5 gigs from your overall storage on your account. The only Tony Smith, any additional cost? The only cost is the actual storage space. So the same as if you were to buy an extra couple of gigs for your desktop client, it's the exact same thing. That's the only additional cost, is just the storage that you use. Okay. Eric, what about sharing between sync accounts? At the moment, we don't have a shared folder feature to sync between accounts, and I'm not aware of anything coming up that will be actually doing that, or anything available in the product roadmap at the moment that would say we'll have a shared folder with other Mozy Sync accounts. At the moment, I know that it had been mentioned previously, and it is something that they will be working towards, but I don't have any dates or anything like that available for that. Caroline, can you sync from external drives? So basically, the files and folders that you want to sync need to be within the Mozy folder, the Mozy Sync folder. So, for example, if I want to sync anything, it needs to be within the actual sync folder. So I need to actually drag it and drop it in here. If that answers your question, Caroline. So you actually you could install the sync software. You could install the sync software on your external drive if you wished, but the files and folders need to be actually added in to the Mozy Sync folder, and that external hard drive would have to be connected to the machine at all times to sync. Okay. Cynthia, is there a tutorial? You can get some of the stuff. You can get most of the videos for the Mozy Sync software at support.mozy.com. But I will be sending out the recording of this session once we have it hosted on our server. So what I'll do now is, once the session is finished, I will send the link on to one of my colleagues who will edit it, and just to get rid of any awkward pauses or dead air space, and he will edit it, and then he'll post it onto our support.mozy.com website. And once he does that, he sends me the link, and I always send out the link to all the people who have attended. Okay, so that'll be the recording, so that you can come back and watch it at a later date. Is that okay for you, Cynthia? Pete, I'm unsure of your statement. Is this, can you not give access to all folders to all users? How do you mean? Do you mean that access to your folders on your machine, or that you're going to use the sync software on a couple of people within your office's machine, or within your office? You're going to install the sync software off of one account. Maybe if you could elaborate on that, Pete, maybe I might be able to answer that question for you. Apologies. Eric, yes, Eric. Yeah, I know. Yeah, a lot of our like as you mentioned there, other collaboration clients do allow for this, and it is something we have highlighted that it needs to be developed, just to stay with our competitors, and it is something that we want to develop. As I say, I just don't have any date available to give you for that. But most definitely it is something we will be working towards. FileMaker Pro, Pete, I'm not exactly sure of that. particular software. Maybe Pete, if you email me on that directly, we can take this offline, and maybe I can get more information on that for you for that particular software. I wouldn't see it as an issue as long as you can, as long as you can put the files and folders within the sync software, it will sync elsewhere. Okay, because that's all it does. It just pulls those, it just backs up those files and sends them to your other machine. I wouldn't imagine it is. I would imagine that it would support FileMaker Pro, but I couldn't say for definite without knowing exactly what the software is. So maybe if you email me directly, Pete, you should have my email address from the invitation you got for the webinar. If not, it's niallf@mozy.com. So that's N for Nancy, I for Idaho, A for Alpha, L for Lima, L for Lima, F for Frank @mozy.com. Cynthia, the website is support.mozy.com. So that's just support.mozy.com. And of course, yeah, I will send on an email with the tutorial information and the link to the recording to everybody that's attended once the recording has been hosted on our servers. Normally it takes about a day to get that done. So I should be emailing on to you within the next day or so, the link for that session, and I'll also include the slide deck that we've done here. Okay. Okay, hello, I have a question. I want to have a few of my computers have their own email address instead of using mine. Is there a way to change the email address without resetting up Mozy and the files that are being backed up? Yeah, if you have them installed on the machine, you can just change from within your account. If you open up the user, you can change the email address from here. Okay, so you can change the user's email address, but if it's a situation where you have if you have already installed it using your own email address for multiple machines, then there is no way of actually changing each individual machine's email address, unfortunately. If I believe that's what you actually are wanting to do. All right. It's email address without resetting. Okay, so sync folder A and folder B do not give access to some users to folder A, give access to some users to both folders. Okay, so at the moment there's no settings within the Mozy Sync software to enable access to folder A, sync folder A and folder B. So there's no settings like that within the Mozy Sync software at the moment where you can actually stipulate on individual machines what folders are accessible or not, unless you have actually settings yourself on your Windows machine, the actual settings limiting what access to what folders the user may have. Because you remember, the sync software will be installed under your account on your machine. So if it is a situation where you want to use software between multiple machines, maybe in your office with other people, at the moment there's no way to limit what certain people can access and what others can't. But I would definitely encourage that if these are, I definitely would encourage that if these are things or issues that you're seeing, then I would definitely like to hear your feedback, and maybe you can, through me, you can send me these emails and I can forward them on to the relevant people. Okay, thanks, Pete. Eric, just reading your question there. Okay, so an open file will not be synced while it is opened, so while it's in use, as it stands at the moment. But again, that is something we are working on in terms of having available, so that it will be you will be able to edit a file while somebody else is using it, so that you have the most up-to-date version synced throughout your accounts. So that is something we're working on as well at the moment. But at the moment, there's no possibility for you to sync while the file is opened or in use. Okay, so what will happen is, while it's opened and in use, although you may be editing it on computer A, the file that the person sees on computer B will be what will have been synced prior to the file being opened on computer A. Will the file be locked? From my own testing, it hasn't locked on me when I've opened a file on computer A, and then tried to access the same file on computer B. Because again, you're opening the local version of it off the local drive. No problem. Orang, can you schedule Mozy to send email notifications to certain users just on their machines and not on all machines? That's a very specific off-topic question, Orang. You can only, with reporting, you can only send emails to certain people on certain. You can select certain users and user groups. But that is more specific question outside of the topic we're trying to cover here. So it would be something, if you can send me an email after the session, Orang, and I can actually send you on some knowledge base articles in relation to the reporting features. Okay? No problem at all. Okay, so are there any more other questions on that? And again, for anybody who's had who wants to ask other questions, do feel free to email me on the email address I gave. In terms of even if you have feedback on features you want to ask about, as Eric and Pete have there, do email me on, and again I can forward those to the relevant people. And if there's something that's more detailed that I haven't been able to answer fully, then maybe something, if you email me on, I can get a full and proper answer for you. No problem at all, Eric. Thanks a lot for joining today. Okay, all right. You have this user has a server. Is a database that's 500 meg. That would be something around that you probably need to deal with directly with support, so that they could actually have a look at the setup. Anything I would advise here would be too generalized. I wouldn't be able to say for definite. I mean, if it's a database that's creating a backup every day, if it's creating a backup every day, you could point towards the backup that the database is creating and back that up. you know, or you know, if it's a particular type of database, you might be able to use. You can use maybe VSS backup sets or something like that. But again, it would be more specific details that you'd need on that I wouldn't be able to cover here. This is in this webinar. Okay, if there's not any more questions, then we'll begin to wrap it up. Again, thanks for everybody for joining today. We really appreciate your attendance, and we will be again scheduled to run our webinar for February on the third Wednesday of February. Just bear with me there. I'll pull up the subject. Okay, so we'll be going through the administration console, user groups and users, and adding users and so on, and storage and managing your storage for that webinar. Okay, so that's the third week of February. Yeah, of course I can, Cynthia. Just give me 2 seconds, just replying to one question we have here, and I'll give you a quick summary of what we've covered over. Okay, so just a quick summary of what we've covered over today. So just on the Mozy Sync client. Okay, so again, you know what Mozy Sync is just it's a sync tool for synchronizing your files and folders, particular files and folders that you put into the Mozy Sync folder between your various machines. So if you have Mozy Sync installed on 3 or 4 of your machines, you can sync files between them, okay, and the Mozy servers. Okay, so if you put a file or folder onto the Mozy Sync folder in computer A, it gets synced to our servers and gets pushed down to computer B and computer C. Okay, so the file then is accessible across your various machines. So as we mentioned a while ago, it reduces the need for maybe emailing files and stuff like that yourself for presentations, or carrying that USB key around with you all the time to make sure that you have a copy of the latest PowerPoint presentation you need, or you know, maybe an Excel document that you need with important data on it. Okay. How is it different from the Mozy client? Again, the Mozy client is meant for disaster recovery, whereas Sync is intended for storage and synchronization. So The client is just meant to back up your files and folders on a daily basis. The sync software is meant to synchronize these particular files and folders across your various machines, and it's accessible at all times. Okay. How do you get it? Again, it needs to be enabled on your Mozy Sync. Mozy Sync needs to be enabled at your root admin console level, so at your partner level within Mozy Pro. It should be enabled in there. If you're not seeing Mozy Sync within your administration console, the ability to add sync to a user, as I said, pop me an email along and I can check your account. If not, if you prefer to contact support, you can do that too via support.mozy.com. If you go there, you can contact support and they'll be able to enable your account for sync. After that, you need to make sure it's enabled. If you're using user groups, you need to make sure that first sync is enabled at the user group level, and then for the individual users, you need to enable sync for them. Okay. You can also enable sync when automatically when adding a user. Okay. You just need to tick the checkbox when you're adding the user. Okay. It can be downloaded directly from our website at mozy.com or via your administration console. You can only install sync on 5 machines. On 5 different machines using the one account. So across various OSs if you want, but you can only use the same. So my niallf@mozy.com account, I can only install that sync client on 5 different machines. Okay, and it's irrelevant of the operating system. I can choose a Windows operating system or a Mac operating system. It's not a problem there. Okay. As I mentioned, yes, you can use Sync and the Mozy client on the one machine. As you can see here for myself, I use Sync and I use the Mozy client, okay, because we don't allow the Mozy Sync folder to be selected for backup, okay. And yes, your files are available online as well, so you can access them there to restore files if you wish, if you're not on a machine that has the Mozy Sync folder, or also you can upload a file or folder there directly to the Mozy Sync folder, and that will be pushed out to the relevant machines that you have Mozy Sync installed on. Okay, so that's just a really quick run through of what we covered today. Again, once I finish here, I will be sending on this recording to one of my colleagues. He will edit it and he will have it hosted on our servers. Okay, so he will host it on support.mozy.com, and once it's up there, he will send me the link. I will forward out the link to all of you for the recording so that you can access it if you want to review the session, and also I will send on a copy of the PowerPoint as well. Okay, so thanks everybody for joining. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to seeing you all again in February for our next webinar. Thank you very much.